what's up? Over the Peon podcast, episode 18. This is an insane episode. I'll get into that in a little bit. If you don't already know from the episode title who my guest is, then you'll know after this very lengthy intro. But man, I was thinking this week, it's insane that I do this. I just started this as like a fun thing. I never thought that I would get to interview the people that I have. It's insane that some fucking just line cook from Austin gets to talk to these people, and now all of a sudden it's like it's become a thing. It's wild. I'm very lucky. I keep thinking about that, especially after doing this interview. I was like, wow, this is crazy that I somehow have a platform that allows me to do this, and to talk to these amazing people, to become, acquaintances with these people, friends with these people, and have the opportunity to just talk. It's really fucking amazing. Blows my mind. Yeah. It's not an imposter syndrome. I don't think of it in that way at all. I just think, wow, this is crazy. Why me? Well, because you asked Zach, Nardwar once said, you get an interview by asking, and apparently it's that easy. You just ask people, and, good things come your way. So anyway, this is a very important week, so that's why the episode was a little delayed. This is a very important week for me, and for a lot of people in the cult of pain, because this week is the anniversary of Anthony Bourdain's death, and so I wanted to save this episode for that week, to commemorate that, and so our guest this week is one of his very close friends, Zamir Gotta, who is, if you don't know him, you have to just go back and watch Cook's Tour, which is on YouTube, No Reservations, which is now on Max, HBO Max. And then Parts Unknown, which is on CNN. But they had a very long relationship. They knew each other for like 20 plus years. I can't remember the exact amount of time. But Zamir was Bourdain's, as he called him, his ex-KGB agent, his mole in Russia. They had this running joke about, Zamir being like a KGB agent or some shit like that. Even the first episode, the Cook's Tour, when they first met, they're both like in their 40s. Bourdain's like fresh out of kitchen, just fresh. And Zamir talks about that, which is amazing insight into somebody that you think just had everything under control. He was, at least to me anyway, it's such a powerful force on screen, but he Bourdain, but he sort of cultivated it very well because of the stories that he told and how he spoke and things. You were like, man, this guy really knows what he's doing. But apparently, according to Zamir, he's a very shy individual, somebody who needed somebody to kind of guide him around, and Zamir was that guy. And what a lucky find there. I don't know, maybe it was luck or whatever, but those two just hit it off, and it's magic on screen. They're just so funny together. There's a real tit for tat between each other. But anyway, what was I saying? I was saying that when they first met, Bourdain was fresh out of the kitchen, just like this person who was just trying to grab up every opportunity he could so that he didn't have to go back to the kitchen, but also not afraid to just go back. He's like, I could be a dishwasher at any fucking time if I want. That's how I feel about this. It's not like I'm making any money, but I just feel like you can't touch me, because I can always just get a job washing dishes or, cooking anywhere, literally anywhere. So that's kind of the great thing about cooking is it's untouchable. People are always going to need cooks, dishwashers, buzzers, But yeah, I remember I started watching Bourdain very soon after high school, which is 2005. Yeah, came back to the States after going to high school, and then started. I think I must have found it on the Travel Channel. Yeah, he was doing No Reservations at that point, because I think Cook's Tour was in the early 2000s, right after Kitchen Confidential came out. Like he's just fresh out of the kitchen. I mean, the intro to Cook's Tour is him in the kitchen, in a chef's coat. So I found No Reservations through Travel Channel, and I was just like sucked in immediately. That show was amazing. It was just like, it wasn't just a travel show. It was raw. Like you could tell sometimes he just fucking hated it. Like Iceland, he goes to Iceland. It's like any other person, like, any other travel show would have been so polite and kept everything that they hated behind the scenes. But Bourdain he kept it at the forefront. He was like, the story of this place that I'm going to is that I fucking hate it. I hate the cold. I hate this place. Why am I in a fucking igloo? Why am I hanging out with bodybuilders? Like, he was polite, of course, to the people, but on screen he was showing you how much he fucking hated being there, and it was hilarious. It was absolutely hilarious. So he made the narrative that the place he was going was not enjoyable, and that was a breath of fucking fresh air for sure. Amongst all these shitty travel shows, that were just so like fake, it seemed, And I traveled a lot when I was a kid, so I knew that it wasn't it wasn't glamorous, and the good shit is not that easy to find. It's off the beaten path and stuff. So that's another reason I loved Bourdain. But then I got into the Cook Store. I don't remember how I found it. I think it might have been bought up by Travel Channel at that point or something like that, or maybe it was still on Food Network, because it was run on Food Network initially, and then I think it was bought by Travel Channel later when Travel Channel bought Food Network. But back in those days, it used to be on like late night or something like that, because he was seen as like sort of like a rebel. He's dark, he's edgy. We can't put him on next to Martha Stewart, So he would be on like late night Food Network, and I'd stay up all night and fucking watch Bourdain, Cook's Tour, with his big bowling shirts and shit like that, just looking so lanky and weird. I'm like, that's a cook. That's got to be a cook. But anyway, to get back to Zamir, they had this amazing relationship from the get go. Like, if you watch those episodes on YouTube, the cook who came in from the cold, and I'm blanking on the other one, the other episode, but they just hit this chemistry immediately, and Tony like cultivated this idea that Zamir was this mysterious guy, which he still kind of is, but he was this mysterious guy, and showing him around Russia, and they don't quite know where he came from or how he got there or what his connections are and things like that. And man, it worked for the whole time that Bourdain was working in television. Like, Zamir was this mysterious guy that kind of hung around Bourdain, but the amazing thing about those two is that in that episode, it's like you can see the two forming a relationship. Like, Bourdain's not quite sure who this guy is, and also for clarity, like Zamir was a fixer. He would find places for you to go and like connect you with people and things like that. So, but I'll let Zamir tell that story. But I mean, in that first episode, you could see Bourdain being like, I'm not sure about this guy or whatever. Like, and then like, I think in the first episode, at some point he says, Bourdain described him later in the episode as a good guy with quite a gastronomic sense, and that seemed like the biggest compliment that Bourdain could give at that point. As like a very protected, kind of shy cook from New York. And that started a massive friendship. He took him to like this KGB agent, a real ex-KGB agent, like a spy, in that episode, and it is crazy. Like, you can see Bourdain just like light up because he was like obsessed with that world and that time in history. And when the ex-KGB agent, like likens like hunting for mushrooms as a metaphor for spying and things like that, it's brilliant. But then Bourdain talks about what kind of childhood he had and what kind of person he was and how he fell into drugs and things like that. And this KGB guy says, well, you would have been the perfect target. I would have scooped you up and made you work for me. And Bourdain just loves it. Like, that's what kind of dude he was. He was like, really? I would have been a KGB agent? Something like that. It's amazing. It's an amazing moment. You could tell that was like where Bourdain was like, all right, this is my guy. This is my dude. And then they went to For No Reservation. So Cook's Tour ended because Bourdain was like, fucking Food Network wants me to do all this bullshit. Fuck them. I don't fucking like them. I'm going to go to Travel Channel. They'll let me just travel on their dime and not have any restrictions. And that show's wildly popular. I remember that show pretty much carried that network until like Bizarre Foods came out. And then, the food challenge shows started happening and it became ridiculous. But there was a short period of time where he was kind of carrying that network, and they would have No Reservations on like 24/7, and that was my shit because I would just watch it over and over and over and over again. And but they regrouped for a trip to Uzbekistan, and that's where the famous tit for tat kind of happened. And I'll let Zamir tell that story because it's great. It's one of my favorite things in this episode. But Bourdain got this terrible massage. like I think Conan got it later. It's like this famous like kind of rough massage that they do in like Turkey and Uzbekistan, where it's like a full body just breakdown. They just crack your whole body and just fucking slap it against the concrete and just bang it around. And he fucking hated it. And you could tell at that moment he was gonna like, he actually made it the narrative of like their relationship that he was gonna keep getting him back. And so that episode's great. But then Bourdain gets him back in a later episode by giving him a bikini wax. Yeah, he made Zamir get a wax. So that's what Zamir's talking about in this episode when he says like, he understands what ladies go through nowadays if they if they need to get their intimate parts worked on. And that was a crazy episode too, because you could tell Bourdain just fucking hated that. Like, I'll let Zamir talk about that, but that was kind of a famous episode where Bourdain just like the second they got in the country, he's kind of a little excited. He's like happy to see his friend, and then they go to see this castle. Literally the first scene in the episode, they already had authorization, they had all this stuff, and then the Romanian government just, the officials like stop them at the gate, and then they want like $600 a square footage to shoot, and Bourdain just walks away. He literally just starts walking at a super fast pace, and Zamir's like running after him, like, no, I don't know what happened. Oh, it's great. And then the rest of the episode is just like, you could tell he's just fucking sour about the whole fucking thing. Like, they end up at a fucking Halloween party at some bullshit hotel that's called Dracula's Castle. It's not even Dracula's Castle. It's just called Dracula's Castle. And it's like, there's people with like knives sticking out of their head, and like Zamir's dressed up as a pirate. Like, it's everything. There's dancing and karaoke. It's everything that Bourdain hated. But it's fucking TV magic. It's so good. And yeah. And then, man, that's such a good episode just because of how crazy and funny it is and how much anger comes out of Bourdain. And then they ended up going to the Rust Belt for a later episode. And we talk about that in this episode as well, where Bourdain really wasn't, as Zamir says, wasn't a guy who explained things. It was either you got it or fuck off, But he wanted to kind of show Zamir, take him over to America and show him what America's like, and show him that like, not every country is perfect, and we got our own shit going on over here too. And I think that's where like the friendship really took off, or kind of the TV dynamic, because man, it is hilarious. That plus the Kansas City episode where they go tailgating, man, just like seeing Zamir amongst like American people and just like partying and taking shots and just kind of controlling the fun of the party is amazing. Which brings me to like what Zamir does now, which is he's traveling around keeping Bourdain's message alive, and he's doing it through vodka, through shots and vodka. I mean, I should mention that from those episodes, but Zamir was famous for making toasts and drinking everybody under the table. It's insane. Like, there are some moments in those episodes where Bourdain, like, Zamir's making another toast or like taking a shot, and Bourdain, you could tell he's just like, oh, fuck, another fucking shot. He takes it down and he just grimaces so hard. He's like, but I got to do it, you know. That's what you're supposed to do. You know, you don't complain. You don't say no. You come in with an attitude that you're in someone else's home and you appreciate it. You do what they do. You do it to make everything to make them feel good. You know. So Bourdain took them all down, and man, there's one moment in Ukraine. I think it was in Ukraine where they drank 3 bottles of vodka. We talk about it in this episode. I mean, 3 real bottles of vodka. We're not talking about small bottles of vodka. We're talking about fucking bottles of vodka in one sitting. Like, that is insane. That's an insane amount of booze. And I'm a big boozer. Oh, I could drink, but not a whole bottle of vodka in one sitting. Man, it's wild. It's wild. I mean, there's one moment in the Ukraine episode, I think, where they go to get chicken Kiev or something at this one Ukrainian restaurant, and Bourdain says, I think I'm going to have a beer. And Zamir looks at him like, you're going to have a beer at a Ukrainian restaurant. And Bourdain's like, all right, fuck, I guess we're getting fucking vodka then. And then all hell breaks loose again. Oh, man, I miss that dude. Okay, so before we get into what Zamir's doing now, I will have to say that, I mean, Bourdain's the whole reason I started this whole thing. I've said it many, many times, and I want to keep saying it again every year. If Bourdain hadn't died the way that he did, I wouldn't be here doing this thing. I don't know where I'd be. Jeez, I have no idea. I was kind of all over the place. I was like failing writer, still am, but failing writer, trying to get into magazines and write books and shit like that, and none of it was going very well. I didn't know what to do or where to go, and then when he died, I was like, man, what the hell do I do? I was in a real dark place, suicidal, and yeah, it hit me like in a second. Like, I think Lucky Peach had died the same year or year before or something like that, and not that I felt that I could replace either Bourdain or Lucky Peach, but it occurred to me that those two things, that person and Lucky Peach, were gone and they would never exist again. And I was like, well, I don't want that to happen. So if I could do anything to fill the gap for myself or other people, to be some element of what either or both of those things were, then that's what I want to do. So that's what I'm doing to some degree. I'm trying. So if it hadn't been for, that horrible thing to happen, then I wouldn't be doing this. And I wouldn't have met Zamir. Like we talk about in this episode, you could talk about a lot of negative shit when it comes to suicide and suicide prevention. You can go negative all day talking about Bourdain the last few years of his life. But I try to keep it positive now because it was bad as it is to say, there's a lot of positivity that came from that. I mean, like I said, I wouldn't be doing this and wouldn't have some direction if it wasn't for that. It sucks. Yeah, I'd rather have Bourdain, but I got this crazy podcast thing in this magazine, so it's wild. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? My Italian comes out. What are you gonna do? But anyway. Yeah, if I could say anything, to talk to people around you, tell them how you're doing, and really be honest about it. Some of the most helpful times in my life has been when, I just tell people exactly what I'm going through. I don't do that bullshit where I go, everything's fine, I'm doing good, and all this stuff. I actually tell people how I'm doing and be honest about my mental health and be honest with where you're at. and what you're going through. Yeah. And also ask them how they're doing. We don't do enough talking nowadays. And I'll say, after having experienced a lot of death this year, in the last year, I will say that don't put shit off. I put a lot of shit off. I was like, I can do that later. I can be with that person later, and then that person's not here anymore. So, if you want to do something, get out and do it. Don't wait, because you never know what's gonna happen next. Shit, I have no fucking idea. It's crazy. And also, I would say something that I've learned recently, had to relearn, is just don't take this shit so seriously. Like, everybody's going through the same fucking thing. And one of the best things I found is this new podcast that I've listened to, Being Ian with Jordan. And it's fucking amazing. Like, you could tell off camera, out of the podcast, they're just, the way they describe themselves is just a mess of depression and failed relationships and mental illness, but they laugh about it so much, and it makes everything feel better. Everything doesn't have to be that heavy. Yeah, it doesn't have to be that heavy. You can get through it. It's fine. Just joke about it, because everybody's going through the same shit. Yeah, that's my depression advice. I got more of it if you need. I'm still here. Anyway, let's get back to the happy shit. So, I don't know how it came about. I think all this shit is just about timing, but somehow I caught Zamir at the right time, and I DM'd him on Instagram. He got back to me. Zamir is a hustler. He's a fixer. He's Zamir. He's just he's amazing. I'm very happy and grateful that I get to talk to Zamir, and that now hopefully I know Zamir and can meet him in person one day. But Zamir does these vodka tours, and toasting to Anthony Bourdain, keeping his message alive, and making sure that it's a message of hope and positivity, keeping the positive side of Bourdain's message alive. Travel, experience something that's outside of yourself, experience the scary, like get into the unknown, and don't travel like a fucking tourist. Don't go to places and just get on a bus and just look at things. No, get in there. Eat the local food. Don't look at fucking Yelp. Just travel, talk to people. And I guarantee you will find something exceptional. So you'll change yourself, and you'll hopefully change the people that you meet too. It's the way to travel. Don't just fucking follow the guides. So Zamir on June 8th, if you happen to be in New York, Zamir will be doing a toast to Anthony at Steelbound in Elcottville, New York. He'll have his vodka there as well. And, Zamir does these all over the country. Yeah, you can find any of his events and stuff at ZamirGotta.com. He's got a schedule up there. He's got, stuff about his vodka. He's got all kinds of information there. And then also the best way to follow him is Instagram, Zamir Gotta, all one word. Yeah, he's a legend. And he's he's out there keeping Bourdain's story alive, telling his own story, telling the story of both of them, and how amazing, the stories that they had shooting that show, traveling, and just being friends. It's amazing. It's amazing to talk to him. I'm not sure what else to say. I'm not going to promote my shit this time. But I will say one thing. I don't usually shoot video. These are all audio only podcasts. But this time, if you'd like to see the video, that'll be up on the Patreon. I'll make that available to all levels. And also, I'm still trying to figure out how to fill out Patreon and stuff, and find time to do it, So, aside from that, though, I'm going to promote Bourdain and Zamir. So, go watch all the Cook Store reservations. It'll change your life. It's not dated in the slightest. You know, it's this. It's great. Oh man, I'm gonna get into it again. I'm gonna get deep into it. It's crazy to me that, I mean, I guess this is a testament to how special Bourdain was, and his vision for the TV show was, because we haven't had anything since that's even close to Bourdain. Like, that show stands up right now, and it's over 20 years old. It's Cook's Tour, No Reservations, and to some degree, Parts Unknown. That got a little more political, and Zamir will talk about that as well for certain reasons. But those first two shows, they're so fucking good. They stand out so much amongst TV in general, but also traveling shows and food shows. Well, because of Bourdain's voice, but also the stories they were telling, the way it was shot, everything about it. It's so unique. And it's insane to me in any other medium, in television, films, when something's popular and it's really good, a fucking 100 clones pop up. They all pop up, you know? And sure, there are people who are like Bourdain, like, that sort of have popped up, you know, or trying to do something like that. Like, of course, there's you know, cooks that have done shows, you know, Eddie Wong and like Action Bronson and people like that. Munchies is trying to do some shit. Brad Leone to some small degree. Maddie Matheson had a thing for a minute, but all of those people eventually just fall back into the same fucking hole of boring fucking recipe development and just travel show standards. It's like, what is going on? Like, I understand the incentive to make money and keep some sort of a business alive, but it's not how you're going to do it. I stopped watching Maddie Matheson because he's just a boring like recipe development guy now. It's like no one's doing what Bourdain did, and it's amazing to me that someone didn't just. I mean, the void is there. Someone could literally just copy what Bourdain did in some small way, and it'll be popular or at least good, because the formula that he had is there, and no one is taking it. No one's doing it. It's insane to me. Of course, you can't replace his voice. His voice is irreplaceable. I mean, that's just who he was. But what I'm trying to say is that no one's trying to do anything that's unique in travel or in the food television world. It's all just so standardized, and it's sad to see. But, you know, maybe someone will do it. I don't know. Bald and Bankrupt, he's kind of doing a little something like that, but also he gets very into history, which probably Bourdain would have loved. I think if he'd seen Bald and Bankrupt, he might have liked it. Yeah, I don't know what we do without Bourdain, but he's still there, you know, which is wild to say. Like 20 years on, those shows, I'm you know, still watching it, going, man, okay, when I go to Mexico City, I'm gonna find this place, and who knows if it's still even there, but. He's still a guide. He's still guiding all of us through life and travel, and yeah. He's not here, but he's still here. All right. That's it for me. I'm gonna let Zamir talk now. Like I said, follow him on Instagram, go to his website, buy his vodka if it's available. Yeah. Enjoy Zamir. He's a real treat. And thanks for listening. Yeah, sure. Thank you for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it.
Sure.
Yeah. So you're on kind of tour right now.
I'm on a mission. My whole life I'm on a mission. So every day is like entertainer on a peacemaking mission. So even talking to you, I'm on a mission. So you are now impregnated to be my messenger.
Okay.
I hope I've taken you with your pants down, right?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Wait, what's the message? The message is
just to spread peace, you know, peace of mind, peace of quiet, peace of world global bullshit missions failure. If it's not you and me, who else will fix it? You know, look at them. They are mostly interested in some land grabs, you know, oil money, you know, bullshit, corruption. It's all over the world. I mean, it's not that I'm talking about specific country, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So unless the human beings like you and me stop following this fake news most of the time, right?
Hmm.
And look at our own inner world. What do we have to say, if anything, right?
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
there should
for
be
sure.
some message. It should be some reason.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
don't look at me as I'm a cult follower of newly born Christians or something, right?
Mhm.
I'm kind of on my own religion, which is peacemaking.
Uh-huh. Well, I was gonna ask you this later in the interview, but I
Okay,
guess
okay.
what do we do without Bourdain? Because Tony was definitely kind of in doing that. You know, he was definitely a person that people looked up to in that sense because he was, you
Well,
know,
thank you
so what
for
do we do
bringing it
now?
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there is
Yeah.
no way to reinvent the bicycle, right?
No,
So
no.
the three most important messages and actually influences of Tony on me, and that's what I'm trying to reinvent myself every day of my life. Well, kick your ass every day of your life, right?
Hmm.
Whenever you feel under the weather, or it's blood pressure, or it's malnutrition, it could be different reasons to keep you in bed or sieged in your shelter wherever you are, right?
Uh-huh.
Start traveling. Even just, believe me or not, I know people in downtown Lower East Side in New York City who've never been to the Upper West Side in Manhattan,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
about maybe an hour walk, my pace. Why?
Yeah.
They have fear of the unknown, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
They don't
It's
know
always fear of
what
the
kind
known.
of
Yeah.
people they're gonna meet. They don't know whether it will be the food they're used to,
Yeah.
or the
Yeah.
booze,
Yeah.
or whoever, or the music. It's just the fear, right?
Yeah, of
So
course.
let's
Yeah.
look at Tony. We met. He was 44. We're of the same age. I was 44, and he said, "Zamir, my life changed overnight
Hmm.
from being a junkie, ex-alcoholic, a chef who had no ambitions in life, basically for the 25 years. Once his book was published, right? Kitchen
Yeah. Kitchen
Confidential.
confidential. Yeah.
He realized all of a sudden, hey, maybe there is a better mission than just, keep people happy and feeding them every day of your life, right? Which is definitely a
Yeah.
mission. But there
Yes,
is
for sure.
much bigger world outside of your restaurant, outside of your cubicle, outside of your. Are you in Austin, you mentioned, or in Texas
Yeah.
somewhere? Actually,
Yeah, I'm in Austin, Texas. Yeah.
you're in Austin, which is Texas. Good. So, in other words, for me, actually, Austin is a microcosm of people coming from all over the world. It's an international city now. Many
Yeah. Oh yeah.
transplants from California, from the East Coast, from everywhere, right?
Hmm.
So that's why
Oh yeah.
actually I felt pretty comfortable there with my first vodka tour about 5 years ago. So, not to derail you completely, we go back to Tony, right? So, look for the unknown. Traveling means not just like having an expensive first class private jet or whatever overseas. No, it has nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
It's just like, put your ass in a car if you have a car, or on a bicycle, right?
Yeah.
Take a ride or walk, whatever is more convenient, whatever you prefer, and just
Yeah.
try to find something different in your life, whether it's the
Yeah.
food, the booze, or the people. Listen to people, or tell your own stories if they're good listeners. That's what Tony actually impacted me as a filmmaker. But until I met him, I wasn't sure I can do my own films. And he said, Zamir, look at me.
Hmm.
I started from scratch, and I was there actually in 2001. I saw him very immature, very insecure in the film terms, right?
Yeah.
He couldn't
Yeah.
talk to people he's never met before. So I
Oh, he
was
was
like
pretty shy
yeah,
at
very
first. Yeah.
shy and very, very insecure in all ways.
Really? Wow.
Well,
Okay.
that's exactly why he actually needed me on camera, because he had Zamir after the first bottle and, a couple of toasts to friendship and new friends and Russian cuisine he enjoyed.
Uh-huh.
He realized that, saying to me, Zamir, you're like an icebreaker. You kind of make connection like
Yes.
this, right? I said, well, Tony, that's what I do as a fixer. That's actually what they hired me for, right? To be a fixer, to set
Hmm.
up, locations, people, crew. For the first time when they were in Russia with his partner and producer and cameraman, Chris Collins, and we all became
Yeah.
friends. So that's exactly why, I guess, when people ask me, how did you connect? Well, it was a coincidence, right? He needed someone like me to help him not to be shy of camera, because most people are shy, right?
Yeah.
Not to think about what to say, right? Because he was already spontaneous. Anyway, so I said, okay, Tony, you like unscripted, so let's do it. You know, as a professional person, I would probably know where to find people who would talk to you, even freezing cold. If you rewatch that Cook's Tour episode in Russia, it was like probably, I don't know, 15 Fahrenheit, right? In January. Actually, it was early February. 2001. And we picked up those fishermen, ice fishermen, and started the conversation. So that was the first setup, unpredictable. There could be no one on that lake, right? Yeah, but with my instinct, it's like, you know, landing in Mars, right? Most people would say, well, whom would I meet them? I said, well, if we're lucky, we'll find one or two Martians, and hopefully they will talk to us, right? So look at it in this way. It's kind of based on spec, right? But you always need to have a backup. So let me not go deeper into the fixing and location scout and filming, because your target audience probably is not familiar with that. So, but the third big impact, like, don't be afraid of anything. Go with the traffic, go with the flow. And definitely, like, an easier influence. I would never touch street food by the time I met Tony, right? So for me, it was something, I'm not sure whether people, you know, wash hands, or whether they use the right, you know, ingredients, or blah blah blah. So he changed me in many ways, like the other people were influenced by him.
So you started eating street food because of him?
Exactly. Like in Uzbekistan, the next episode, what was already Travel Channel, 2005, in Uzbekistan, he insisted that we had that food. I said, Tony, as a kind of little bit paranoia fixer and the field producer, I'm worried if someone gets like a bug or like some indigestion on the way, we'll lose the crew, right? So I was kind of more global. So Zamir, trust me, I'm a chef.
You're more producer.
Once I see this couple, we met the couple on the road, basically. Like, call it
where you guys ate the brains, like,
and whatever was there. Said, Zamir, don't worry, you know, trust me. So I had to trust him. Though there was no plumbing toilet. No, no one got sick. Okay. Yeah.
That's amazing.
In other words, it's just like, you know, it was like two-way traffic. I learned a lot. Probably he learned something from me about the camera appearance and how to be flexible.
Was your chemistry, did it happen pretty immediately?
Immediately, like, you know,
really?
You call it like first love from the first sight. So not to be misconstrued, we kind of really connected immediately like this.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, probably the same age, probably similar interest, and he's never been to Russia. He was eager to learn more about filmmakers. He was very educated, which was a pleasant surprise. I never expected a chef to be that culturally educated about history, films, music. I learned from him about Ramones and Stevie Ray. His favorite. Stevie Ray Vaughan. Stevie Ray Vaughan
from Austin, Texas.
Stevie Ray Vaughan. Actually. Yeah, you see? Yeah. So it was really a two-way traffic. So it's like the friendship started from day one, I would call it. And
so you know, did you guys hang out outside of the shoots and stuff?
Yes, when we were not that tired, which was not often times normally, right? Because normally by the end of the shoot day, you're kind of tired. So most likely we will either hang out with the crew at, you know, local bar or whatever, if we were still up, or luckily there are days when the crew were doing just B-roll, what we say, just cutaways, right? When neither he nor me have to be in the shot.
Oh, so like,
so like in Kansas City, I was lucky to accompany him for shopping. He needed the new Levi's jeans, or he would call me for being his warm up, like in a band, you know, and there is a band on stage. Tony used to have, Tony used to have public appearances. It was
he used to do the shows with Eric Repair and just kind of by himself.
And some other guys, so to say. So I was lucky to be invited like 5 times. It was Guts and Glory, North American tour. So he actually invited me to Dallas, which was first time. I didn't know what to do. He said, Zamir, be yourself. So he gave me one page like, now, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce my KGB mole, the man of international gastronomy. kind of a sidekick.
Hilarious.
So people would laugh, and kind of the ice was broken. Like in Dallas, probably he didn't know what to expect. So then it was Cleveland, Boston, Baltimore, Kansas City. Yeah, so it was fun. So I guess he really needed me more at some point, just to be away from crazy stalkers or people who would follow him from show to show, and just be himself. He wasn't easy to mix with the people he never met. So that's why I think I did help to break the ice.
Yeah. Did he tend to get pretty like crazy followers and stuff like that?
Yeah, there were stalkers, especially beautiful women from all over the world. Yeah, would come to his show, and he was definitely recognized. Mostly at the airports when we traveled, and definitely people asked for a favor to take a selfie or something. He was most of the time he was very open-minded, unless he was very tired and asked not to be bothered, which happened not often. I have to admit that.
Yeah. Well, I gotta ask, because I watched a bunch of the episodes before we talked, and you guys had this back and forth in the early episodes.
Yeah.
Like, did that start with the massage, or was that something that you guys just had naturally? Because it was the massage.
No, actually, it was a good reason, like sort of what we call like tooth for tot, like kind of thing.
Yeah,
jokingly
for tat,
for the script, tooth for tat. Thank you. Started with the massage, which was absolutely unexpected scene. It happened the very last day, because my local sub-fixers, as I call them in Uzbekistan, were pretty shy to show us kind of shabby, old-style hammam thing, kind of, and they were uncomfortable that the masseur would be not happy to be on camera. The word lubrication in the sense of fixing terms, not what they're thinking. So I kind of tipped the guy before we asked him to be on camera giving Tony a kind of massage. So he kind of overdid it. He thought that to impress me, the guy who tipped him twice than normal, he would do his best. And poor Tony was definitely suffering a little bit of sex harassment, kind of say.
He was going through it.
Not literally, but figuratively, definitely, because you wouldn't expect a man to be like moving him up and down, left and right. You thought it would be more like kind of skin massage, but that was more like physical thing, like chiropractor or something.
Yeah. Did you guys? But then he got you back.
With the boxing scene. With the boxing scene, which was actually my cultural shock. I never did it before, so it was very surprising as a gift for my upcoming birthday.
Yeah.
I started to be more understanding of women, especially if they need to do some kind of very sensitive parts of the body before the beach season starts. So my heart really belongs to women who are much more courageous and sort of overcoming pain than men like myself.
Yeah, that was amazing. And then you went to Transylvania. Did he seem absolutely hate that? Was that just for camera, or did he really enjoy that?
Honestly,
the Halloween.
That was, it was more of my fault, but it happened with the blessing of his company, 0.0. So when I went alone on a scout trip, which is always the case, right? When I'm doing field production, right? Not only on camera, but I'm normally on my own to go for a week to the country where we plan to go, to choose the right locations, to talk to the people. Not that we set up the dialogues, as you know, it's still unscripted, but you need to be aware that only within 6 full shoot days, you need to accomplish a lot. Several cities, it's travel. So you need to have reliable people on the ground helping you to make it work. So, and once, actually, it was not just my initiative. 0.0 agreed that we should approach Romanian cultural board of travel and culture in New York City, in the Romanian embassy. And they were so happy that, Tony might visit them. They said, sure, let the mayor, visit Romania, and we'll assign a local fixer, so to say, right? To find, and have a easier travel, because I didn't speak Romanian. And that was probably a mistake, which we realized too late. So anyway, they wanted us to go mostly to the places where they thought it would be a better presentation of the country, right?
Oh, okay. So like touristy kind of
If
places.
you know, yeah. So it was probably for the first time and for the last time, meaning that normally I just find people and locations on my own for recommendation, but since I've never been to Romania before, we decided it would be a much easier way to set things right with the transport, hotels, etc. Different culture. And so we ended up where we ended up. And it was still okay until the very last day when the local security guy wouldn't allow us to do a stand-up in front of a Vlad Dracula monument in Bucharest Park, right? And there was some bullshit explanation why he wouldn't let us do it. I won't even recall. So the local subfixes from this Ministry of Culture allegedly sent, email with a request, and it was granted. But anyway, something didn't connect it. Then Tony really freaked out, and the whole show became very negative. Yeah.
Okay. Damn.
I had to take certain credit, honestly, because that was the year. Well, actually, just to make a revelation, originally we planned to do it as a really, my 50th birthday party, right? In an exotic land where, Dracula, whatever and whatnot. But my mom passed away like a month before planned in end of October of 2006. So Tony said, don't worry, I know you won't feel comfortable to, entertain us as it normally works, 40 days after your mom's death. So it really happened the year after, which means it was not my real 50th birthday, it was my 51st birthday, right? But since we already had that kind of announcement. So anyway, I was still a little bit feeling down and sometimes would probably drink more than expected. So with local Chuyka, if you remember that local moonshine, I had a terrible mistake. So I have to warn your younger audience, never mix the booze with the painkillers. So in one of the scenes, if you remember,
he gave you a painkiller.
Because I had to push his car, Dacia, the local car, which got stuck in the mud of the roads in the mountains of Bukovina. And so I really just pulled my muscles and, they gave me that painkiller. But the next sort of location was that dinner, the pit party. So I probably drank more than expected. And with painkillers connection, I kind of lost it. So Tony had to carry me to the event. It wasn't planned, as you understand. It was pretty spontaneous. So since that time, by the way, you need to be, aware that the Romanian government, who probably had no sense of humor, put both of us on the blacklist, and they claimed in the local newspapers, that Zamir is a KGB colonel. I have no idea why they promoted me. I thought I would be private by that time, and an alcoholic, which was disputable. But since they saw me kind of losing it a little bit in the scenes.
Oh wow!
So anyway, never trust the local state institutions, because they really want you to see what they want you to see. In other words, that was kind of a mistake. But things happen.
Did they want you to see the hotel with the party and everything?
Not really. They just wanted us to be a little bit away from the real life, right? That whole party of the local peasants, they flashed out how beautiful everything is. They kind of overdid it. The young kid wearing that national kind of outfits, which he might never probably wear in his life, but just kind of to send a message to foreigners, especially for the sake of the travelers, that we're so good, we're so fancy, we're so clean and safe. In most cases, that was the case, but not always. So it became a little bit over polished from the sense of content wise, which definitely pissed off not only Tony and myself, but it is what it is. It was like a little bit of a honey trap.
Yeah, he seemed to very much hate when things were staged and set up. The fish was always a running joke, but the Halloween party where you guys had to dress up and he seemed to very much despise that kind of stuff.
That Halloween was something special. You're right.
Yeah. Oh man, did you see any sort of change in him? Did he stay kind of the same shy kind of guy, or as he got more and more famous, did he change a little bit?
In most cases, he would still stay as a shy and very goodwill person, but probably the more you travel, the more exposed you are as basically, international star. The more people start, harassing you. Oh, just let's do this, let's do that. Give me an autograph or something. It's too much. Sometimes it was really too much. So I think he was probably leaning towards to have more privacy. Even during our filming the last couple of years, he would try to spend more time on his own in a hotel room or elsewhere. And well, first of all, he had too many commitments to honestly, like too many interviews were coming, too many books, too many films, too many, judging, like cook shows, whatever. So I personally believe he kind of burnt out a little bit. It was too much, traveling 2/3 of the year. Just imagine to be away for longer than a month. You already started, well, something is not cooking right. Yeah. So,
for sure. Yeah.
So in other words, there's always the upside and downside. My worry is that he really burnt out and was kind of a little bit pissed off. Yeah. Apart from the private things happening in his life and personal situations. Well, it's very sad. But listen, he enjoyed every moment of it. That's what
for sure.
Life is all about. It's something,
Yeah, you guys definitely enjoyed it a lot. My mind was blown by the amount of vodka you guys drank. Is that there's like 3 bottles at one point in an episode?
It's good that you counted, because most people think, oh, Zamir, we stopped counting because we thought that was fake vodka. I said, and I'm sure you will believe me, hey, nothing was artificial or fake regarding Tony's.
Yeah.
Once again, it's always unscripted. Yeah. We didn't plan to have, a bottle or two. We like went with the flow. And that was the Ukraine episode you referred to, right? It was our record. So it was like 3 bottles. I can't even remember, Mimirov, Khortitsa, and the third one I won't recall. Some pepper vodka, it was tough. Yeah, it was pepper one. Thank you. But always with the good food. Don't forget that we never, overindulged without the food. That's the whole crash course of how to drink without getting drunk, which I bring with my vodka tasting. And you'll have to come over. If not to Buffalo this time, I may be in, where could I be? Like in Nashville, maybe in about 2 weeks. Then it might be Treasure Island in Florida. So anyway, once you follow me, you'll see at ZamirGotta.com some announcements, because really June is a big month, of Tony's. It's the birthday and his 5th death anniversary. So I have global plans, maybe to find the right location. By the way, I'm more and more thinking about Austin, where we could set up a yearly festival, ideally in June, but not always. And something like, drink like Tony or eat like Tony, drink like Zamir. Yeah. Something to make it more like fun, more like, really up to what he was promoting to, meet people, drink local, eat local. You have an amazing, chefs, restaurant. So do me a favor. When you have time and talk to your local guys, just think about it. It could be like a weekend.
Oh, for sure.
Just, several restaurants, several bars, like street fair, whatever. So from this standpoint, I need my messengers. So you are the one, Zach. You kind of, I call people like you. I walked in, right? So I never recruited you. You found me. You walked in. So welcome to the parlor. Yeah, if you remember that.
Welcome to the party.
Great book. It was Joseph Cronin, I think, Citadel. Will you walk into my parlor? Said a spider to a fly. So I don't want to call myself a spider, but since you are flying in my space, so you are stuck.
Good. Yeah. So what do you do for these events? You just get people drunk, kind of get a meeting, and
normally I'm either contacted or I contact friends of friends, as I mentioned to you, who have a bar, a restaurant, who are fans of Tony, and we have either a happy hour, which is easier if there is no Zamir vodka legally distributed, which is, call it a tasting event. Like, we don't charge people for a free shot, but they definitely pay a little bit extra to justify my travel cost, at least to different destinations, which is not drivable or walkable. So it's simple. It's just like local food, local people who want to, and we screen YouTube or whatever is like free travel channel, mostly travel channel shows, because they are more fun. Honestly, with the CNN, it was getting a little bit not that 100% Tony. Sometimes CNN wanted him to go to certain destinations he didn't really plan to or didn't want to, and talking more as an interviewee, which is not exactly his kind of shtick, he acknowledged. But still, it was amazing. Parts Unknown is still one of my favorites.
It's really great. But is that why he sort of changed more to like interviewing? It's more of sitting at a
exactly.
mirror.
That was the format they wanted.
Oh, okay. So that was their change.
That was their change. Yeah. No.
Huh. That's interesting. Okay. I thought that he was getting more interested.
No. And honestly, the way I look at it, some people I know, they wouldn't continue following him with CNN because they thought it's getting more political or like biased or something, which was not the case. But still, CNN, as you know, it's like different extremes. Fox, CNN, like not anymore unbiased kind of media, and unfortunately, with all my respect, the journalists who work there, that's why some of the audience sadly gave up on switching to
Tony,
CNN. But most of the people definitely still followed him and read his books, etc.
Yeah, for sure. I gotta ask you about the Rust Belt episode, because that was like because you used to be, as far as like watching the trajectory of you guys, you were his Russian contact and like kind of guiding him through that world. And then all of a sudden he took you and put you in the Rust Belt. Why was that?
Well, the way I looked at it, he never explained. He was not the guy who would explain things, right? Unless you get it, you don't get it. So you better not ask. Yeah. So the way I realized our chemistry and interaction, so it was easier for him to have like a sidekick, right? You have more topics, you have more themes, you have less time to be just talking on your own, if you know what I'm saying. So you get some rest during, the 2-man travel kind of thing. That's how I would explain.
Yeah, for sure.
So since I showed him Russia the way I could in the previous 2 episodes, he thought to himself, okay, it's time to show Zamir, ex-commie, born in a communist, world and stuck by communists for quite some time, that no country is perfect. So as you know, he was more like anarchist, like nihilist. He would never believe that any state, when it gets interfering into your life, could do something good, right? Rely on your own, skills, rely on your own interests, be your own man, right? So he wanted to show me that America is not perfect either way. There were economic crises, people lost jobs, etc. So like nothing is perfect. No one is perfect. So that was the reason to bring me to that Rust Belt and to show Detroit, Buffalo, and Baltimore as pretty rusty cities where, we interviewed people who were like waiting for unemployed, like, Dole or something in U.S. Auto Works in Detroit, closed.
Detroit.
General Motors, I guess.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it was kind of his way to show me his backyard, if you know what I'm saying, which I liked. And he thought I would hate Buffalo because at that time it was so rustic and freezing, but I enjoyed it and met so many people who became my friends in that day. So I keep coming to Buffalo, and no surprise that my vodka, Peacemaking vodka, was released there because with the help of my spiritual advisor, Chris Carson, who's actually native of Rochester, not far from Buffalo, he found a farmer and a distillery with this winter crop wheat from the farmer whom I, was introduced to. We found the best quality of vodka, which I wanted to do for a couple of years, but didn't find the right ingredients. And that amazing water from Cayuga Lake, Finger Lakes. That's the 2 ingredients you need to have to make the vodka smooth and really like not damaging your liver that much as the bad quality vodka. Yeah. So I'm not an advocate of drinking 24 hours. I'm just saying if you buy alcohol, you really need to be aware that if you buy something under $15 per bottle, most likely you're paying for gas,
ethanol,
diesel fuel kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, what was some of the most fun times you guys had on the show?
Well, every show definitely had its own kind of fun elements. Probably
even the bad one, like the Romanian one.
Yeah, even in Romania, they were still had some fun, as I mentioned to you at some of the episodes where you didn't expect that crazy people coming for the Halloween party, like American tourists. It was still cultural experience, believe me or not.
But makes for good TV, for sure.
Yeah, maybe Kansas City was more fun for me. Not only that, it was my first tailgate party, right? And as you probably know,
Oh
we
yeah,
never
that's
made we
right.
never made it to the stadium. So the amount of booze we consumed, he said, Zamir, you need a break. No need to go. But that was first experience. I liked it, and see how people do socialize even just before or after the event, right? And never
Uh-huh.
been to the game. Then
Yeah.
after that episode, I definitely was interested to visit it and saw the Bills in Buffalo, of course. And
Mhm.
that was the time when we met the people he interviewed, because I wasn't part of that element. It was Black Key. Remember the musicians from, anyway, very famous band. Just rewatch the Kansas City. So they were on camera with Tony at lunch, and I was just off camera, just enjoying my lunch, and then talking to the guys, Black Keys, I think. I'll remember the
Oh, the
band
Black
at some
Keys. Yeah,
point.
the Black
Black
Keys. Yeah,
Keys,
the
sure. Yeah,
the
yeah.
the blues
So
artist. Yeah.
yeah, that was amazing experience to meet people who are definitely considered icons of world and our music
Mhm.
culture. And so it was always something new and interesting. In other words, like every episode
Yeah.
definitely had a lot of positive experiences for me, especially like
Yeah.
learning the world outside of my box. That was the whole idea. Be a traveler, not a tourist.
Yeah. For sure.
Or air museum, the same type of thing. Most people say, well, it's kind of boring. What would you expect in an air museum, right? But I guess Tony
Yeah.
really wanted me to be there on my own, just to figure out what America is all about. Some people collect this, some people collect that. So that amazing woman, I won't recall her name, she was collecting since she was like, I don't know, in her 20s, that
Mhm.
hair, say, lock-ons of famous people,
Oh,
and they
yeah.
exhibited it.
Yeah.
Amazing, amazing.
Yeah. So, how did he choose what to like? You mentioned the Rust Belt episode, but like, how did he choose to include you in these episodes later on?
Well, well, I guess he just missed the company. That's my own understanding. Since I'm not a chef, right? I couldn't be a secondary repair, because with Eric they always have something, recipes or some food related
Mhm.
topics to discuss. With me, it was more about overall politics or spies. He liked the books on
Mhm.
spy, thing. That's why actually he was very, very surprised that I managed to arrange a visit to super KGB colonel, retired one by that time, Viktor Cherkashin, in the second Russian
Yeah.
episode in 2005, who would explain to
Mhm.
us metaphorically that picking up mushrooms is also art. So that was
Yeah.
a metaphor
Yeah.
for
That was
him
amazing.
choosing people like Tony, whom to approach and recruit, who were not happy or were not, something, to
Yeah.
do whatever.
Yeah. He said he would have recruited Tony because he was like an easy target or something like
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah, definitely, because he
That's
didn't care
crazy.
much. It's not that he knew some secrets, but that type of people, would
Yeah.
allow the real spies to get through them, maybe to a network of someone who would introduce them to those who are part of, special services or politicians, and then they will use their dirty tricks to
Uh-huh.
blackmail the people, like honey traps or whatever. So
Yeah.
it's an interesting world. He was also very much interested in.
Do you have any like standout meals from any of those episodes?
Well,
Like,
honestly, I'm not a big foodie, meaning I like comfort food. So in any country I go, I just try to see what locals eat. So I always go now, since I met Tony, as I mentioned before, to the places where local eat and drink. So I eat everything. So for me, just like, macaroni, like pasta would be a good way to do, like, whether it's bolognese or whatever. So from this standpoint, I eat everything and everywhere I go. So I don't have any allergies, luckily. I like meat, I like chicken, I like fish. Sometimes I do vegetables, but less. I'm still more like an, I would say, a regular consumer food, not too much in the vegetarian world. Maybe with, getting older, it might be a good thing to be more healthy. But otherwise,
yeah.
I like food in general sense,
Well,
especially
it was
homemade. That's why I try to
yeah.
visit friends, as I mentioned to you, all over US, and stay
Mhm.
with them. First of all, it does save limited budget I have for this kind of events, and that helps
Yeah.
to see how people live through food.
Yeah.
That's another big thing Tony helped us to understand in a very simple way. through
Yeah,
food,
for
you
sure.
do understand more about their lifestyle, about their culture, about their beliefs, about the politics. So everything starts with the right food, with the right host who are open-minded and welcoming you to taste something they just produced for you specifically.
Well, are there some of those moments from the show that sort of stick with you? Some of those meals?
Well, definitely in Uzbekistan, which was more of a cultural shock to him, less to me, because it's kind of a Muslim country, but not that orthodox as most of them. So when we were attending that wedding, if you remember,
Oh yeah, for sure.
yeah, we had a special guest to attend many small events, like, families from the bride, from the bridegroom, community, they call it mahala. They meet regardless of the bride and groom first. They start like at 8 a.m. So we had to toast and drink vodka at 8 a.m., definitely with the food, which normally you won't expect for breakfast, like plov, like a real rice dish with lots of meat and vegetables and garlic. So Tony was really surprised that around the world, it's not like simply wedding. You come for the event sometime in the evening, you have appetizers and that. Here it was like totally different way. People just have a reason to socialize, hundreds of them at the same place.
Yeah.
And he enjoyed it.
Yeah. It seemed like he's had a great time, except for the dancing. He didn't really like the
Well,
dancing.
listen, that was one of the taboos. No karaoke, no dancing, but probably it was my fault. I tried to keep him sometimes away from his comfort zone, because that gives you more of a beautiful, unexpected, on-camera kind of fun time. And he was too shy to join us. But at the end of the day, he did at least imitate that kind of a dance and paid me for whatever tip I deserved.
Did you ever listen to his narration? And,
yes,
and think about like the way that he sort of portrayed you. Yeah, that's great. But he always portrayed you as kind of like in opposition. He's like, God, I'm gonna get Zamir again. Like he was like almost like you were an adversary or like a
exactly. That was helpful. Kind of for the sake of intrigue. You always need like two different opinions. Ex-commie or someone born in mature capitalism like himself.
Yeah.
So that was probably a good excuse why he had the reason to invite me more often than other friends, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I guess as we're winding down here, did you happen to watch the documentary Roadrunner? And what did you think about it?
Very professional film. And the only thing I missed, not only me, I guess, many of Tony's fans and friends, there was no hope at the end of the story, right? For me, and by the way, I'm not bragging, I'm just trying to complete the post-production with my comrade in crime in Buffalo, by the way, Stephen Powles, who started with me that documentary, Zamir Discovers Bourdain's America. Like what happens after Tony is gone, right?
Yeah.
So we hope that by the end of the year, we'll be able to screen it, and might be a good reason to bring it to Austin and have that event we discussed. So be my mole now, M-O-L-E. So don't run away.
Your mole,
yeah. So that's the legacy. We all need to cherish and bring up more often than just in the month of June. Same way he kind of urged me to write my own memoirs. Like he said, I will write an introduction and help you with the social media. Maybe I was too naive, didn't quite believe it was for real. It was 10 years ago. During one of our events in Cleveland, as I mentioned, that the Guts and Glory show. So anyway, I'm now keeping all the fingers crossed that my book agent will find the right publisher. We've done 5 chapters with my co-writer. She's amazing, Miriam. Thank you. And now I hear my voice, because with the previous male co-writer, that was the toughest thing, to get your real voice, right? So it's not like, English is not my native. So I always need a co-writer to bring things into a better way of real English. But she, as the first woman, I was introduced to as a co-writer, did it. And now I'm very happy that hopefully by the end of the year, we'll have the whole manuscript ready. So you'll be my mole for the, book event.
For Austin.
No publisher comes in, we'll have to come up with something interesting with the booze and food and the screening event. So that's what I mean of Tony's Festival, that people would come and see, the films, his favorite shows, whatever they like. So He does deserve it. He changed all of us.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, he changed my life. So it's more hopeful. Yeah, I definitely felt that with the show or with the movie. It was
just we need some more hope that here is the big impact he made. So I know, many people would cry and that interviews were very dramatic, but still, I don't know why they didn't show the upside. There's always the upside and downside, right? In anything we do. How many people still, and I'm like a member of 4 different social groups with about 200,000 people probably connecting, especially during pandemic years. People felt so lonely when they couldn't follow any more of the new shows. So they needed some kind of a means of communication, right? Special people, older people, single people, those who lost hope for whatever reason in their own life. So that's how the social groups, I'm part of, the legend, Bourdain Rocks, Anthony Bourdain Appreciation Society, suicide prevention, you name it. So that's beautiful. That's what I love. And that's how people still now, like 5 years after he's gone, discuss different books of his shows, photos. So he really, it's like Bourdain Manny. It's like a cult without him even
it is a cult.
thinking about it. It is a cult. So believe me or not, we are all members of that cult. So why don't we bring it up more often and toast and think of him? And, that would be beautiful memories for his daughter, Ariane, who definitely will need that support more often, especially being a teenager now.
Yeah. And that community is definitely,
it is a big community all over the world, by the way. I'm pleasantly surprised to get, calls from Australia, from Hawaii, definitely Europe and US, of course. Yeah. So it's not just like one country made such a big impact. That's phenomenal, honestly. And I'm so honored to be part of it now. And some people, reach out and want to know something. Yeah. So that's why I said, well, wait till the book is done, till the film is done. There'll be more revelations, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so you have a few things planned for this year, but I mean, you have those things in the work?
Yeah, for the moment, this is Buffalo. So I'll be like on June 8th. Definitely the sad day, and welcome to join me, those who have friends or family in Western New York. It's only 45 minutes from Buffalo. Steelbound, amazing Ellicottville resort, and that's Steelbound Distillery now produced the most recent limited batch of my vodka. So that's where you definitely can buy it and drink it and enjoy it.
Okay. And what's the status on the Soviet submarine disco? When is that gonna?
Well, believe me or not, I have friends now in Treasure Island, and they support this idea. Remember, like for the joke, I said, Tony, how about we bring the submarine and find a parking spot and do a go-go club? So now they think that Treasure Island needed. So you might get an invitation anytime soon if we are successful.
Really?
I'm still looking for a very old style, the one which I had in mind in San Diego. Unfortunately, we are like a bit late. It was used for metal scrap because it started sinking. It was part of the Sea Navy Museum or something in downtown San Diego. So anyway, if you have any ideas on where to get some old vessel from the Cold War, my friends in Treasure Island are ready and invite me to set it up there. And maybe we'll call it like Tony's or Hunt for Tony or something.
That'd
if
be
not
amazing.
For the Red October. Yeah, something funny. He will definitely enjoy it. I know that he is watching us and having a good time.
Oh, yeah, for sure. All right. Well, thank you so much, Zamir. I'll let you go. You got to get out.
Zach, you're my man. So send me the link when we are ready. So I could definitely bring it to my audience in other parts of Austin. And good luck with a noble mission. I'm proud of you.
Oh, thank you so much.
What a bunch of wonderful characters. Alexei, who never says a word. Ludmila, who never stops. And Zamir, who not only turned out to be a good guy after all, but has quite the gastronomic sense.
To good food, good company, a gracious host, a good cook, and good vodka. Thank you.